You all know that mass transit is the lifeblood of our city. This beautiful, crowded, pulsing city could not be this way unless we had mass transit. You can't get so many people working in one concentrated place without mass transit. And so mass transit is our lifeblood, whether it's the local subways and buses in New York City, whether it's the Long Island Railroad, Metro North that takes us up into the northern parts, suburbs, or New Jersey Transit. Mass transit is our lifeblood. Without it, this city dies. And having good, strong, safe mass transit, which has happened over the years, has been a great thing for New York, and it's one of the reasons our city has grown. My daughters go on the subway late at night. I'm not worried about putting them on there because it's safer, and it's cleaner, and it's more effective than it has ever been. And that's a great thing, not only for people who take mass transit, but even if you live here and work across the street so you can just walk to work. It's important because it keeps the lifeblood of this city going and alive. So I have always been a leading defender of mass transit. Our whole economy here in New York depends on it. Now, we know that mass transit is under serious threat right now because of the recession. When the recession occurs, there are fewer jobs. That means fewer people buy the subway, buy the metro cards, and go to work. There are fewer tourists. Fewer tourists get on our trains and buses. There are fewer people who take trains, whether it's getting on the Long Island Railroad and coming into the city for a Saturday afternoon of shopping. When the recession hits, mass transit gets pneumonia because it has fewer revenues, and yet so many of its costs are fixed. You can't just, certain businesses you can just cut back by scale, but here you can't. You close a subway line, you close a bus line, and it's way beyond the 5% or 10% loss that they might have in ridership, but you can't do it any other way. You either run the bus or you don't run the bus. You can't say we're going to run 95% of the bus because we have fewer revenues. And so, unfortunately, what we have seen is all kinds of service cuts, even the cancellation of major lines and bus routes. We've seen the fact that our students are having to pay to get to school, something unheard of. I had a bus pass and took the B2 to junior high school when I was in Brooklyn, and that's how I got to Cunningham Junior High School. And it's just bad in every way around. And then it creates a vicious cycle. Because there are cuts in mass transit, fewer people use it, and then the economy gets worse. So it is an imperative for our city, our metropolitan area, and metropolitan areas all over the country, that during this time of recession, that the federal government step up to the plate. And that's what we're here to talk about today. There are now 8 senators who are sponsors of a proposal that would provide $2 billion in emergency operating assistance for mass transit throughout the country. Obviously, New York would get the largest share of that, since we have close to a quarter of all the mass transit riders in the country. It's a win-win-win for everybody. What it would do would prevent the kind of cutbacks we're talking about. It would allow the city and the state to deal with the kinds of problems we're having with the student passes and everything else that we're talking about. And it would, during these difficult times, keep our system running and running smoothly, as well as keep people working. Because, of course, every time if our private sector is growing jobs and our public sector is shrinking jobs, our economy doesn't advance. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. So all the good work we're doing in Washington to create private sector jobs would be undone if transit workers, teachers, cops, firefighters, city or state workers would be laid off. And so we need to do this. And we are today announcing a major push to get this emergency funding done. and we're going to get as much support